Hi, welcome to You, Me and Mediumship. Just responding to a little request just to do a short video on visitations really whilst we're asleep. And also I'm just going to add a few bits on the end of this just regarding the passing into spirit world and what to expect. And I'm just going to try and change a few kind of misconceptions, if you like, as to what happens and what to expect. So I've heard one or two things probably over the last week whilst teaching that some fledglings have been told. So I just really want to try my best to put a few stories straight if I can, just to help, because I think sometimes some of the things that are flying around do nothing but hinder and obviously confuse. So that's the last thing we need. So I'll do a little talk about that as well. But basically, if we go back to the visitation and the possibility of that whilst we're asleep, then logically, when you think about it, whilst we're in that state of sleep, while we're away in the land of Nod, many of us report that loved ones who have passed have drawn close to us. We've seen them. We've even spoken to them. All sorts of different happenings whilst this is going on that have been kind of told to me, I guess. And a lot of people just want some verification of is it real, is it dream, exactly what's going on. So if we think about it, whilst we're asleep, obviously we've let go. So the outside world, although that still is out there somewhere, we are somewhere else. And obviously we've like I said, we've let go. So we are basically open. And whilst we're in that open state, in other words, there's nothing around us that is kind of taking our attention, if you like. There's nothing's being fed into the mind from the outside world, because obviously we've got our eyes closed and we're well gone. Hopefully we're having a good sleep. So whilst we're in that state, and the spirit within us, that energy within us, obviously has a chance to lift, if you like, to expand itself, to come to the forefront of self, then we are quite open. And the blending of the energy of spirit, obviously, it's a lot simpler for that energy to merge with ours. We are not distracted, if you like. We are not contaminated with the outside world and what's happening and thought. We are not that brick wall that is there throughout the day as we walk around and function, as we're working away, whatever we are doing, that wall, if you like, that barrier no longer exists. So we're quite open whilst in sleep state. So yeah, if a loved one draws close, there's a good chance that we will sense them, we will be aware of them. Our energy, our inner self is more than aware of our loved ones being there. I've experienced it where I've literally had conversations, and it's very difficult, like dreams, I guess. Sometimes we simply cannot remember them. And it's very difficult doing a visitation whilst we're asleep sometimes for us to actually remember exactly what was said. We may remember parts of it, the visions, how our loved ones looked. We may well remember that. We know we've seen them. We know we've spoken with them, but sometimes it can be difficult to remember exactly what was said. For some who are quite lucky and can remember dreams quite vividly, then they may well remember. But we cannot class a visitation as a dream. Okay, you will know if that was reality or whether it was just a dream. There is a vast difference. We know whilst we're awake sometimes if we are, say, deeply into some hobby, or we are simply miles away whilst we're peeling the potatoes or whatever we are doing. Sometimes we let go during the day. We kind of drift off. And it's then sometimes that we can sense the closeness of a loved one. It may come as a very astonishing surprise, if you like. We're simply miles away, and all of a sudden we just sense that loved one close. Now that is happening because we have partially, not as deeply as when we're asleep, but we have partially let go. We've dropped the blinkers. Okay, we are allowing ourself, our spirit, our energy, that source that runs through us. Okay, we have allowed that to come to the forefront because we've let go just sometimes for a few split seconds. It's allowed to run free, if you like. Once that energy within self is released or comes to the forefront of being, then there is, if you like, it's like let me think of something how I could describe. It's like a lighthouse, if you like, in the middle of a dark sea. It shines, it is seen, it is spotted, it is there. And it is kind of like opening a gateway to allow spirit to draw close. It is also the fact that we're quite open at that point. It allows us the awareness that spirit are there. So it's all about, and this is why I talk about in most of the videos, which you're probably quite bored about now, but that's why I talk about your toolbox being self. That is the tool that you use for expansion, for communication. So the inner self, that's why it's important to be in tune with that, because that is what you are using, that energy, that source within you to communicate with spirit. You're not using the mind, you're not using anything physical whatsoever. It's all soul and energy. And that's what we expand whilst sitting in the power. So yes, while we are asleep, we've simply let go, and we have allowed the energy within us to come to the forefront of self. And that, like I said, is like that lighthouse. It's like waving a flag, saying, here we are, I know I'm here. Spirit know that it's an ideal opportunity whilst you've let go, whilst you're asleep, whilst maybe you're miles away and you've dropped those blinkers, you've allowed that energy to expand unknowingly. You may be miles away thinking about something, you're kind of somewhere else, and we all do it, we all daydream. But whilst we're doing that, whilst we have taken our focus from what's in front of us, once we've taken that focus away, we've taken the focus away from our surroundings, then we are allowing that energy, unknowingly sometimes, out. It's come to the forefront, it is shining, it is there, and spirit will not always deliberately take advantage of that, because they're always around. It's just the fact that we have kind of unknowingly blended with the energy that's around us 24/7. That energy that is around us needn't always be a loved one. It can be simply that of source that is flowing around us naturally every day of the week. And we have just allowed ourselves, like I said, unknowingly sometimes, to blend with it. There's always a peacefulness, isn't there, normally, when we are miles away. In our minds have just let go for a few seconds. We always sense that peacefulness. And obviously we are not in the depths of trance at that point. We would be in trouble if we were. We are not in the depths of communication at that point. There is still an element of being within this atmosphere. But to a certain degree, we have let go whilst we are daydreaming, and all of a sudden we sense that loved one, or we sense maybe their perfume, cigarette smoke, cigar smoke, or that chuckle, that laugh, or even sometimes a memory of them, a vision of them, will all of a sudden, out of the blue, come into our, it's not an aura as such, where you could describe it as that, but that single element of our loved one, whatever it may be, like I said, that sense of a perfume, that sense of maybe like cigar smoke, cigarette smoke, anything that could relate to them in a sense that still is carrying on around us, okay, because they are close and we're not always aware of it, but because we've all of a sudden opened up, unnaturally, we haven't done it deliberately, we sense them. And it can be quite shocking, be quite a surprise sometimes. Because 99.9% of the time, we are in being mode. Some of us drift off more than others sometimes. Unfortunately, it's seen as a bad thing, you know. There's lots of ways of describing it. Normally it's away with the fairies, or in cuckoo land, or whatever you'd like to describe it as. But sometimes many of us enjoy that. Just letting go for a split second, just being somewhere else, having that little daydream. But like I said, that element of us, that capability of doing that, does bring soul to the forefront of self, be it only for a few seconds. But that's normally when we sense something. And we can be on our own, maybe in the home, preparing dinner, tidying up or whatever. Our thoughts are elsewhere. Okay, we are like a robot doing what we're doing. Okay, we don't even have to think about some tasks that we do. We simply just do it. And when we're in that state, whilst we're doing that, there is an element, like I said, of self being out there. And then that element of that self that's out there will sense, because it's the natural part of you, that energy within you that is picking up on the atmosphere that is around you. And going back to sleep, then, you know, you are, like I said, like a lighthouse for spirit. And obviously there is the dream element as well. We do dream, the mind plays games. It does all sorts of, or creates all sorts of weird and wonderful scenarios. But for many of us, we know that our loved ones were not a dream. It was a visitation, and we've met with them. We know that. And of course, the mind being what it is, will question it. The mind being what it is, will put it down as a dream sometimes. But believe you me, it is such an ideal opportunity for our loved ones just to draw close whilst we've let go, whilst we've dropped that barrier, we've pushed the blinkers to one side, we're sound asleep, we are open, and there's an opportunity for them just to draw close to you, and just to mainly just for you to know that they are happy, they are fine, they are at peace. So I hope that helps answer that question a little bit. I just want to touch on a couple of things that have been brought up in the lessons that I do by some of the students. And we're talking about things that are said about when we pass over, or what some mediums have said to them in readings when they've had their own personal readings. And one of the things that they said was, if this, we'll say the next realm is obviously a realm of love, of warmth, of energy, of light, then how do material things exist within it? Because I was told, like, Dad's building Mum a lovely bungalow. It's got a big garden, so when she passes, she'll have a lovely bungalow. Another aspect of that was said to me when one of the students had a reading with another medium was, they were talking about that the communication wasn't that clear simply because their loved ones were in hospital in spirit world. So, I mean, it's not the first time I've heard this at all. I have heard it before, and I'm sure many of you have too. But what we need to understand is, unfortunately, man, if he doesn't understand something, will make something fit so he does understand it. And unfortunately, for, I guess, many people over the years, they see spirit world simply as that. The description doesn't really help, obviously calling it world, because immediately you put a picture in your mind of yet another planet, if you like, another mass, and it's simply another Earth, if you like. Now, I don't want to bore you to tears with this, but Earth, okay, is obviously a world, makes common sense, but the atmospheres that are generated, okay, the realms, if you like, the realms that exist, realms of energy, realms of warmth, realms of knowing, have absolutely no relationship at all with anything material. And that's the same in a way for us. We experience, we progress, we learn, and the only way we can do that at this stage of the journey is through expression through a body. We cannot experience outside of that whilst we're here. So we need the body to obviously be able to experience things, to learn from them. We need to be housed within this body to be able to experience on this part of our journey. And as we progress, it may be that we will be rehoused, if you like. Sound like a housing officer now, don't I? It sounds like we will be, we can sometimes be rehoused in order to experience other aspects of being. So reincarnation, if you like. So it's important really that we try and get away from the material side of description of life, because the only way we can try and understand it for some is to put that material aspect into it. There are no bricks and mortar in the world of spirit. There are no hospitals in the world of spirit. If you pass through cancer or whatever reason you pass, if you are sick and you pass either at home or in the hospital or wherever, okay, that body that is housing that sickness is left behind. There is nothing to heal when you take that transition into the world of spirit. So why would there be a hospital? There is nothing to heal. The conscious being that we are, that source that we are, that soul that we are, that spirit that we are, is of light. It is of energy. It is of positive energy. And that when that leaves the body, it does not take sickness with it. It does not take illness with it. Anything that relates to energy, so like some emotions, can be taken with the consciousness as it leaves the body with that energy, because a lot of emotion is simply energy. Some of that, for argument's sake, like parts of personality, can, for a short time, exist within that consciousness as it transitions into spirit. That's why as mediums we pick up personalities, because part of that exists within that conscious energy, is still there. We would have no need as spiritual beings of light, if you like, for a bungalow. Quite where the bricks and mortar come from, I'm not too sure, the concrete mixers. And what I need to try and make you try and get a grasp of, I guess, is that, and I think I've said this before, is simply things that we enjoy here, that mean a lot to us here, and it can be the simplest of things. Okay, we enjoy them here. We can, once we are within whatever realm we find ourselves in, whatever level of energy and vibration we find ourselves in, we can recreate that feeling of fulfillment that we had from that hobby or whatever it was here. We can recreate that and experience it. And as energy, as we can recreate circumstances. So we can recreate that evening down the pub and how we felt. We would sense that. We would not physically be there, but we can recreate that sensation. But, and it is a big but, okay. What we need to understand is when we transition, what fulfills us as human beings, if you like, material beings, what fulfilled us here won't necessarily fulfill us there. There will be many things we will not need whilst in the spiritual state. We just will not even think about them or even consider them. They were simply material things that we enjoyed in a material way. And when we progress into that next realm of being, there will be other things that will fulfill us. But many of these other things that fulfill us whilst out of body will be vastly different and will be more along the lines of our service to others. And you think about, and there'll be service to self too. Our progression will be top of our list. Not recreating a night down the pub or a game of football or anything like that. Okay. Like I said, we can recreate that fulfillment. But it's not necessary, as it was here. Our fulfillment will be from other aspects of being. One of them being service to not only others, but to self and to the source. So, if you want to believe that there is a material side there, and that is totally your choice. If you want to accept that description via another medium or whatever, again, I respect choice. But we have to try, and my old saying is, think outside of that box, the material box that we are housed in here. There is no material aspect to spirit. It is not needed. It is not necessary. It is not part of purpose. So, just putting a couple of things, I guess, in order, if you like. And, if you don't accept that, I totally respect that. We've all got different direction. We've all got our different paths. I can only say what I have been told, how this all fits together, and I hope it helps you. And it relates in the sense of what I've spoken to before, or spoken about before, what we sense as mediums. That's why I think it's important we grasp what I've just spoken about. Because as mediums, we are sensing energy, and the images, those images that are brought in for us to give evidence of survival, are simply conscious thought from that element of consciousness that exists in the world of spirit. It is an image that is given to us. It is passed through to us. It's not solid. It's not real. That person, if you like, that you pick up upon, that image of that person that you see in that checkered suit or whatever, or in that long flowing dress that you sense, you pick up on, you give that description to your sitter, is not one of reality. It is simply part of thought coming from that energy that is drawn close to you. That image is being given to you to prove that life after death goes on. They materialize in exactly the same way when we have materialization of spirit. They will materialize using part of that conscious thought process, if you like, of how they looked. They can materialize in that image before you. And, years ago, in the early days, then it was quite a common occurrence when mum would just materialize in a circle for someone. She would just materialize there, and even to the point where you could reach out and you could sense, the feeling of her hand touching your hand. That is energy recreating itself as it was embodied to give you proof, and it's evidence basically that soul lives on, but without body. And as I've described before, if mediums, if we just sense that energy, that ball of light, if you like, and that's all we ever saw, we would not have evidence. We couldn't say, well, we could give circumstantial evidence of things that happened within their lifetimes and experiences they had had with your sitter. We could give that kind of evidence, but we would be unaware of their description, if you like. We couldn't go to every person that we'd give a reading for and say, I've got a ball of light here, because I think they'd probably think you've lost the plot. But we know from experience that spirit will materialize. They will give you image how they looked in life. so that we can prove that life goes on. So we need to get away from that material side of things and think along the lines of energy. That source, that spirit, that soul. It's energy. And a beautiful one at that. I hope you like the video. Please like, please subscribe. Pop over to Patreon as well, where there's some teaching on there that I do, some classes that I do on there, some guidance rather than teaching, but that it's there. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll speak to you all again very soon. Take care and bye for now.